Well, let's get some analysis now on this story. Jessica Sargent joins us from London. She's a senior researcher at the Institute for Government there. Thanks very much for your time today. First of all, the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP, has long opposed the protocol. So why is it demanding a halt to checks now?
Is a continuation and an escalation of the DUP's long-standing strategy to try and extract changes from the UK and the EU. This particular instance of stopping these checks came about because of pressure from certain loyalist groups within Northern Ireland. The particular issue at play here is whether there needs to be agreement between all the parties in the Northern Ireland executive for checks to continue. The DUP is now saying because there isn't agreement on that, then they can legally stop checks. But it's not clear that that's quite the case, because the Northern Ireland Protocol is obviously implementing international law, which in the UK system is the responsibility of the UK government, not the Northern Ireland executive. So there's a complicated legal case here, but ultimately this is part of the broader opposition that the DUP has to the protocol more widely.
Indeed, and no matter what the Agriculture Minister in Northern Ireland says, it seems that these checks are still going ahead today.
What the Agriculture Minister has done is put the Northern Ireland Civil Service in a very difficult position, because although obviously they are directed by the Agricultural Minister, they also have a legal obligation to follow international law. So they are currently continuing these checks while they await some more clarity on the legal position. It would be possible, if the UK government wanted to intervene, that it could direct the Northern Ireland Civil Service to continue those checks and give them some political cover, but it's not clear that that's what they will do.
This has been dismissed by opponents of the DUP as little more than a sort of electioneering stunt ahead of the elections in May. Do you think there's any truth to that suggestion?
I mean, certainly the DUP will want to make it very clear its opposition to the protocol, and that is part of its electoral strategy, this opposition. I think more concerning this afternoon, we're expecting the DUP First Minister to resign from the executive, which will mean that there is no First Minister or Deputy First Minister in Northern Ireland in the run-up to that election. So I think it is linked. It is a political strategy rather than a plainly legal dispute.
Well, as you say, we are expecting the First Minister, Paul Gavin, to tender his resignation. That would also trigger the resignation of the Sinn Féin leader at Stormont. I mean, what does that mean for the governing of Northern Ireland? We remember periods in the past where Stormont had no government for many months. Are we looking then at another prolonged stalemate in the Northern Ireland Assembly?
So the situation is slightly different to the last time that the Northern Ireland Executive collapsed, because as part of the agreement that restored the Northern Ireland Executive, they agreed some changes that would allow ministers to remain in post, even if the First Minister and the Deputy First Minister resigned for a bit longer, for 6 weeks rather than 7 days. So it's not going to be the immediate crisis that there might have been previously. But certainly I think one of the big questions is after the election, whether what is going to happen today is going to make it harder to re-establish the Northern Ireland executive in the long term, and whether we might see Northern Ireland returned to a time without ministers.
And just finally, I mean, do we have any sense as to how residents in Northern Ireland feel about all of this? I mean, this is a relatively technical issue about checks. Are people supporting the DUP in their moves today? I mean, the EU is calling it a breach of international law.
Well, certainly, I think support for the DUP is incredibly split, as Northern Ireland often is on these issues. A lot of perceptions of the protocol do divide down those kind of constitutional divisions more widely. There is suggestions to show that most of people in Northern Ireland do want changes to the protocol, but equally they also want a government there, and they also want stability and certainty going forward. So I think these tactics will be divisive. While it might shore up support in some parts of the DUP support base, equally I'm sure there will be some voters and some part of the Northern Ireland public that will be frustrated that we are again looking at the possibility of the executive collapsing.
Jessica Sargent from the Institute of Government in London, thanks very much indeed for your time and your analysis today.